Those are people.
Happy Friday and welcome to today's special Tiger webinar. I'm Lydia Palmer, Senior Director of Marketing and Communications in RIT's Division of Development and Alumni Relations, and I am your moderator for today's webinar. We are happy to have you join us today, and we hope that you and our entire Tiger family are well and weathering this global challenge to the best of your ability. We want you to know that the RIT Office of Alumni Relations is available to help all Tigers in the coming weeks with a variety of needs, including new content relevant to the crisis and its impact on you, learning opportunities, and networking and career assistance in the coming months as our companies and our world work through the COVID-19 realities. We especially encourage everyone to connect to the RIT Alumni Association social media channels, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, where you will find up-to-date communications and opportunities to connect to other Tiger alumni in your region and your industry. Those links are found in the chat box, and the chat box can be opened by clicking on the chat tab at the right of your webinar window. Many in our RIT family have asked how they can help our students and the university during this unprecedented situation, and we are incredibly grateful for all of those offers. If you are able to help, we encourage you to support the COVID-19 Emergency Fund, which helps students with unforeseen needs, including emergency housing, technology to complete online studies, transportation, and healthcare. We have included a link to the information regarding that fund and a way to support it in the chat box. And thank you very much. Now on to today's panel discussion. We want to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the presentation tools. If you are joining from a remote location and are currently signed into your company's VPN, we encourage you to close that channel during the webinar to increase the quality of the webinar transmission. This platform is secure and does not require VPN access. All attendees have joined in mute mode. However, your questions for our panel can be entered in the chat box at any time throughout the discussion. We'll make every effort to address all your comments and questions throughout the webinar. You are joining this event using broadcast audio. If you wish to dial in by phone, dial-in information is provided in the chat box. Live captioning is also being provided, and you can find the link to access that in the chat box as well. Today's panel discussion will be recorded and made available complete with captions in approximately 1 week following today's event. All participants will receive an email with the link to the recording. If you have any technical questions, enter those in the chat box as well, and we will do our best to get you the appropriate answers. Now on to the fun part. We are happy to welcome a panel of RIT alumni brewers for Brewers Talking Beer. I will introduce each of our panelists and then let them tell you more about their individual companies. I'd like to ask each of our panelists to lift a glass when I mention your name so people know who is who. We'll start with Steve Kaplan. Steve is an alumnus from the class of 2005. Gleason College of Engineering's Mechanical Engineering program. Chris Spinelli is a double alum, 2008 degree in economics from the College of Liberal Arts and a 2009 MBA from the Saunders College of Business. Zack is a 2003 graduate from the Gleason College of Engineering's Industrial Engineering program. Jeff Ware graduated from the Saunders College of Business in 2004 with a degree in management. And joining us shortly, handling a little problem back at the brewery, is Chris Rhodes. Chris holds a BS-MS, a mechanical engineering technology, manufacturing, and mechanical systems integration, respectively, from the College of Engineering Technology. He is a 2016 alumnus, and he wins for the longest degree program name here today. And saving the best for last is Brendan Harder. Brendan will also be joining us shortly. Brendan is a 2013 mechanical engineering alumnus from the Gleason College of Engineering. We want to thank you all for joining us. We're going to start by having each one of the panelists tell us what's in your glass, first of all, and then also share a little bit about your companies. So we're going to start with Chris Spinelli, who is at the top of the screen that I'm looking at right now, and then we'll go around clockwise. Go ahead, Chris.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. Glad to get out and have some social time with people. So I'm Chris Spinelli. I'm owner and co-founder of Rock Brewing Company here in Rochester, New York. Started homebrewing back in May of 2009, right after I finished my MBA. And from there, we opened up our doors in downtown Rochester in June of 2011. So we're situated in downtown Rochester. We mostly distribute in Rochester. We do some distribution in Western New York, hoping to kind of expand that a little bit more this year. And coming up on 9 years this June and doing an expansion here at the brewery. So if you live in the Rochester area, once we're out of quarantine, come join us and have a beer with us. Cheers.
Over to Drew and Jeff.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeff Ware, president of Resurgence Brewing Company, and I got Zack next to me. He'll talk in a second here. Resurgence was founded about 6 years ago. We're currently sitting in our new facility, our second facility in Buffalo, New York. It's a 38,000 square foot facility to produce and entertain and create the beer experience for our customers through tap room, banquet hall, and then our production facility right here in downtown Buffalo. We produce about 10,000 barrels of beer a year, and we are happy to be chatting and not worrying about everything else that's going on right now and enjoying a beer or two. I am currently drinking our Tiny Juice Monsters. This is releasing tomorrow at the tap room for the first time ever for curbside pickup, which is our kind of new normal. Drew?
Cheers, everybody. My name is Zack. I am a College of Engineering graduate, 2003. Jeff and I played baseball together at RIT. I joined Resurgence about 2 years ago now, just before the expansion of this building. And, really I joined because Resurgence has done a lot for Buffalo. It's really grown the west side where our original location was, and I just really want to be a part of a growing company. I'm drinking our Pina Colada Sour. It was the winner of our Kegs and Eggs experimental beer competition about a year ago, and it's a great drinking sour. We aged it on 200 pounds of toasted coconut, and it hits the spot. Just wish it was a little bit warmer out right now.
Drew's being modest. He's the guy that runs all the machinery behind us. I'm just a business guy. I went to the school of business. I know how to do all this stuff.
Well done, Jeff. That's how I feel.
I do have to say, I am surprised to see the number of engineers involved in all of this. And either it's because you all went through engineering and it applies so well to this, or it's because you went through engineering and you decided you liked beer better. I'm not sure which it is, but let's go over to Steve Kaplan.
Hey guys, I'm Steve Kaplan. I'm with Genesee Brewing here in Rochester. We're part of a company called FIFCO USA, which is actually a Costa Rican-owned business. They have a brewery down there in Costa Rica and a number of other businesses, but they own us, Genesee, Labatt USA, and our friends at Magic Cat in Burlington, Vermont, and Pyramid Brewing in Portland. I've been with Jenny for about 9 years now. I've been the brewmaster for the last 2.5 years. Today I'm drinking our Springbok, which has been out for a little while. Doesn't really feel like spring today. It did yesterday, maybe it will tomorrow, but it's a real nice traditional Bock beer. And as soon as I finish that, I'm going to jump into the Ruby Red Kolsch, which I know is a fan favorite. So this is out in the stores today. So if you're out there, if you see it, please buy it.
Thanks a lot. And for our last two guests, who are Brendan Harder and Chris Rhodes. They are from Beer Tree Brewing Company. As I did say, they are fixing a last-minute issue that came up in the brewery. That's that kind of little open window down there with a lovely chandelier showing. But as soon as Chris and Brandon get back in, we'll hear a little bit from them. So let's, and I should mention that we're hearing lots of information and hellos and things from people in the chat box. Lots of people that I think have crossed paths with some of you, or at very least, they've certainly had a couple of your beers. So we're glad to see everyone chatting in the chat box. And if you do have questions, let us know, and we'll forward those over to the panelists. So let's just dive right into the first question. And we're going to go kind of right to the elephant in the room here, and that is this current COVID-19 crisis. Now, I have heard people say that beer is a recession-proof product, but I'm not sure it's pandemic-proof. So we want to know how you guys are doing and how you're keeping the beer flowing.
Well, I'll jump in here. From Resurgence's point of view, I think everybody will agree, it's a bit of a crap sandwich that we all got fed here. So we're all in the same situation with it, but we're trying to make the best of a bad situation. So we've really seen about 85% of our revenue fall off here. We've laid off about 50 people. So we're trying to make the best that we can, but it's certainly going to have lasting impacts on our industry and our brewery.
Yeah, I'd follow up with what Jeff's saying. We've laid off everyone but our brewer and one other taproom person. Our sales are down close to 90%. We are going to start doing crawlers to go starting tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. But it's definitely not going to make up for our revenue stream. It's definitely going to have a lasting impact on a lot of breweries. We're lucky enough that we're working on an expansion, and we have that to look forward to when we reopen, but it's definitely going to hurt us and a number of breweries.
Hey, Jenny, we're busy, but I mean, it's all about people. So, our focus right now is just keeping everybody safe and healthy, making sure that if people need to be home to care for family members, loved ones, neighbors, that they can have the time off that they need. We're going to run as long as we can until people can't show up to work, but we're trying to keep people safe, and that's really our big focus right now.
It's a lot. We do want to get into a little bit more of some good talk, and that is looking at what some of the current trends and virus notwithstanding opportunities are in your industry. Do you have some new products on the horizon? Are you looking at related services, forging some partnerships? What's going on in that area?
Sure. I'll still jump in again here. So, I mean, we're trying to make the best of it, like I said. So we've actually started doing some curbside releases twice a week. As you can see, it just popped up on your screen here. We actually released a social distancing series that's going over real well. So people are coming down. They can't enjoy our tap room. They can't enjoy their beers here, but we can give them some good beer to bring home. So we start with our social distancing. In a week, we have homemade haircuts coming out, and then virtual happy hour, which is exactly what we're doing right now. So we're trying to evolve and do the best we can to make things work here. We're also making sanitizer for all the grocery and hospitals locally. Actually, Jenny's been super helpful, and the guys up at NA have been really helpful in getting that going and helping us with that process. So we're evolving and making the best that we can. Drew, anything to add?
I think one of the things is we were lucky enough to be pretty prepared for the situation with Jeff's foresight to have some names picked out and some beers aligned. So we had label registration, and we also had our TTB to be able to distribute those beers. So the great people of Buffalo have come out and supported us. A couple of weeks ago, we sold 100 cases out of our tap room, which is something that we've never done before. So if there's one shining light from this, that was a really nice thing for Buffalo to do and come out and support us.
Yeah, support's great.
That's awesome, guys. Yeah, it's so great to hear that they're supporting you. We've started to get people reaching out to us like, are you guys going to open? Are you going to do crawler to go? Luckily, we did a big canning run before this hit. So luckily, our distributor was able to pick that up and really get into distribution. So our new pale ale and our lager is out. Actually, the beer I'm drinking, the lager of them, our Vienna style lager. It's my favorite beer. Just hit the market. So that's been nice. For us, it's kind of weird in the sense that we've shut down pretty much, but we do know at the end of this that we're going to open up with our new partnership with FLX Winery, based out of Geneva, and really have this great new experience at our tap room to look forward to. So in some ways, even though we've been around for 9 years, we're going to reopen completely new and go from there. But now we just got to kind of sit back, weather the storm, and do the best we can to keep the doors open long enough to really take on this new experience that we're going to have. So,
Chris, you guys selling anything direct out of your tap rooms?
That's what we're talking about. Literally today I spent the day setting up a new website through Square to be able to sell our crowlers out of the back door. So
Nice.
we have some cases of whoop ass. So if you want to open a can of whoop ass on coronavirus, come on and get it. Yeah, so we haven't done that yet, but we finally figure out a way to set that up. So that's what we're trying to do now.
Word.
Miss you guys. It's been a while. I haven't seen you guys in forever.
I know. This is a good opportunity to get together.
Yeah.
We're pretty fortunate at the big brewery. I mean, obviously we're distributed through, the local distributors and the stores and stuff. So, relatively speaking, we're doing okay, but a lot of it is really because Genesee is only a small portion of what we do at our brewery. We do a lot of contract brewing, and we do a lot of FMBs and seltzers. So that's really what's big for us right now. I mean, Jenny's doing okay. But our horizon is, kind of riding the wave of seltzers. Not that it's the thing that I enjoy to drink, but there's a lot of people out there that enjoy that stuff. So we've been in it since the beginning. Some of the big names that are out there got their start at our brewery. So, we don't have right now a label of our own. We're going to release one later this year. But that's kind of on the horizon for us. On the beer front, our wheelhouse has always been traditional lagers and traditional German style lagers, and I think they're kind of coming back a little bit. So we've got a couple things we're working on right now in Dean's Little Brewery. I mean, a dunkel that's just absolutely killer that I'm looking forward to releasing. We're going to re-up our Oktoberfest this year and look at some other more traditional styles that are really kind of what we're good at. But other than that, seltzer, we're booming right now on seltzer. That's what's paying my salary right now.
You seem ecstatic about it.
I'm not gonna lie. It's nothing to make me happier than if we were cranking out Jenny beer 24/7. But that's the reality of what our business is.
For sure.
Yeah, seltzers are insane. I can't believe how much they've blown up in the industry. I can remember walking down Park Ave Fest this past year, and instead of everyone carrying a case of Jenny, they had White Claws all day walking up and down. And I was like, oh my God, come on, people.
Yeah, people out there like it. I see the appeal, but I don't know. Give me a beer any day.
Yeah, I think you touched on a great point too about trends with lagers. I think they're definitely coming back. Logarithm's our number 2 selling beer by far. I know you guys at Resurgence do some great lagers too. If brewers get their way, we're definitely going to have lagers be more prominent. So,
For sure.
Can you talk a little bit, it's an interesting thing that it's such a different environment for the small craft brewer than it is for people who are like the Genesee Brewery that really has specialized in that. And I don't want to sound silly when I say this, but Jenny sort of seems to have gone like the opposite direction. We had the craft brewers that were brewing beer in small batch, and then they sort of opened out into the come into this brewery, sit down, have some food, eat, drink the beer, taste the different types of beers, have that kind of experience. Genesee was cranking out large volume beer, and then you all just opened up that nice tap room for people to come back and visit. So what's the mix in your different businesses between what you're selling on site, what you're pumping out and sending out through distributors, and what's actual, business traffic of people coming into the breweries?
I guess I'll jump that one again. We were built to build the beer experience. So we really want to offer more than just packaged beer and get people closer to the product. So we want people to be able to hang out in the brewery, kind of like hanging out with your buddies in a garage and just drinking beers, but like smelling the smells of a brewery. I mean, it's something kind of romantic and unique about being inside of a brewery. It's not quite production. I mean, it is production, but it's also, art. I mean, there's a lot of fun, interesting, creative things going on there, while at the same time being a manufacturing facility. And we really want to bring people into that. So we set up our whole business to really get people in the door and be on site. That being said, it's probably about I'd say 70% of our total revenue. And we do ship a lot of beer out the door. It's just that we make a bit more money across the bar than we do sending it through distribution channels over here.
Yeah, I always tell people that we sell an experience. We don't sell beer, because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing anymore, because there's so many breweries and this hyper local experience that's been happening. That's probably going to be the trend for a while. I think this everything that's happening in the world right now will change that a little bit and open up some more markets, but it's harder and harder to send your product further and further. So definitely we focus, most of our production goes through our front door, and we sell an experience. And that's why we're expanding and adding a new tap room with food, because we want you to come in, feel like you're at experience, and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing, is that everybody can do it so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Stephen, I got someone who piped in here and says you guys are brewing Narragansett, which is an old favorite from the 70s.
We do contract brew for Narragansett. They have their own little brewery in Rhode Island, and they contract with us for the Narragansett lager and a couple other of their products that we brew right here in Rochester. So it's actually a pretty big volume for us. Unfortunately for them, and I know you guys are suffering it too, they're a very big on-premise business. We do a lot of draft business for them, and it's basically just come to a complete halt. So it's scary times for sure, but they're still doing their package business, and they've been great partners to us for many, many years.
We have a standing with those guys for Bills versus Patriots for chicken wings that we sent to them versus them sending us some local donut shop. It's supposed to be fantastic. Needless to say, we've never got the donuts, and we sent hundreds of dollars of chicken wings to them.
Well, if they're not going to pay up, I can make some of their beer fall off the line, and we can deliver it to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So we've got a couple questions and comments from people talking about Tap New York, asking if anyone had been planning to go to that. Don't know if it's still going to happen.
No, it's been canceled.
It's been canceled?
Yeah, it was canceled a while ago.
What is that experience like?
2 crazy drunken days on a ski resort in the Hudson Valley. That's probably a good example of what it is.
Yeah, we go every year. Some years it snows, some years it's 60 degrees. Either way, you definitely drink a lot of beer.
Were you guys outside?
We've always been outside, yeah.
Oh, we used to. We haven't gone in a couple of years, just because we were in the middle of things during that time. It just wasn't feasible. But we were always inside, and we loved it. And we were hoping to go back this year and have our inside spot again. So that's the goal. Fingers crossed, because it's wonderful inside.
A fun time for all the brewers.
Yeah,
but not happening this year.
So it's not having been there, it must be a stretch to call it a trade show. Is it for the brewers to see what's going on in brewing, or is it for people to come and see what all the brewers are doing?
It's one of the original beer festivals in New York State, and so they've been around doing this for, I'd say, at least 20 years, and way before everybody else was doing it. And so it's just got a lot of clout around it. They have a big competition there. The brewers like to be in. We took gold for Resurgence IPA last year. A little plug there, quick. But it's just a really fun time because you're in the middle of nowhere. So you do the beer festivals. Everybody has a great time. All the customers leave, and then the brewers are just there to hang out with each other and just have some beers and relax, which is always a fun thing to do. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all big beer fans, so it's fun to hang out with each other and talk shop and drink beer.
Yeah, that sounds great. So we got a little feedback there. Got a question for Steve Kaplan. How often do you guys test beer in the pilot room before releasing large quantities?
Pretty much anything new. We brew with Dean on his pilot system, and we say pilot kind of facetiously. I mean, it's a 20-barrel system, so it's not. It's smaller than our 500-barrel system, but it's still a pretty big batch. It's still a pretty big commitment. But typically on the beer side, before we scale it up to the big brewery, we'll work with Dean to get a batch through, and it's always good to get it up at the tasting bar and get some feedback from Jenny drinkers before we scale it up. I mean, a 500-barrel batch is a pretty big commitment to screw it up. We get a lot of practice though. We do a lot of contract brewing for other folks. So, you know, in my 9, almost 10 years, I mean, it's very rare that, you know, we have an issue scaling up a recipe. It's something that we've gotten really good at between Dean and I, translating from one system to another. And they are very different breweries, not just in size, but in how we make it. I know some of you guys have been in the big brewery and seen it's big and different than most small craft breweries. So, but we're good at it. We've learned how to match things pretty well.
Yeah, actually, our brew house here is a sprinkling system, and it's the same one that Dean brews on. It's just down the road from us.
Yep.
So we have a question from Eric down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he says, if these were normal times, so think back to when it was normal, what would you say about someone getting involved in a brewery and learning about the brewing process and the business? Are there ideas that you have about the best way for somebody to think about going into this?
You know, I mean, I'm going to jump in here. being on the board for the New York State Brewers Association, being really involved in what is happening, my economics background, it would not be a wise time to jump into the brewing world. Not to say that you couldn't do it, right? Follow your dreams, do your passion, but you really need to know what you're doing now more than ever. And you need to know that when you open your doors, that there is a path towards success. A lot of people see the success of the industry. When we opened up, there were 1,500 breweries in America. There's currently 8,500 breweries in America. And there are some concerns that because of what's happening with the virus right now, that there might be 2,000 breweries that close at the end of this, because you know a lot of them are on premise, a lot of them are direct retailers, and so it's going to be a challenge for someone to get into the industry and be able to compete. You have to make the best beer in the country day one, or else you're just another voice in the crowd. And even as we're coming up on 10 years, we're constantly redeveloping who we are and making sure that we're keeping up with what this industry is. But working at a brewery always helps. Getting in, working at a brewery, starting from the bottom, going up. Make sure you followed up with your business plan. Make sure you know your market. Just because your town doesn't have a brewery doesn't mean that it needs a brewery. Your town may not be large enough to support that. But you know, when we opened up, people thought we were crazy, and I'm coming up on 9 years still open. So I can't really tell you not to go for it, but just be aware that it's going to be a very challenging time for our industry over the next 18 months.
What Chris said, for the most part, yeah, is absolutely right. I would definitely, if you're going to do it, go work for another brewery first, get some experience under your belt, and kind of come up with a good business plan. I do think there's room still for growth of small breweries if you want to be almost like a coffee shop model, but it's going to be an uphill battle just because there's an immense amount of competition and people are making really good beer. So I mean, making good beer now is a prerequisite, not something out of the norm. And so, you got to come in the door ready to hit home runs because you can't swing and miss too often, and you're never going to have customers come back.
Yeah, great. We did have, I think this probably ties in, which is where or when do you see the craft trend topping out at all?
You know, I think that the aftermath of what's going on right now is going to be the current standing point for what is the craft beer bubble. It's not really a bubble because it's more than just a trend. It's an experience that's going to be here, and people want that local. But after this and the fallout, we'll see what remains, and it's going to take years for many breweries to kind of recover, to bounce back, to stay open. And some of the breweries that were in planning may never open just because it's just not the right time right now. So I think there was a point that was coming where there was definitely going to be a slowdown, but the coronavirus has definitely kind of started that fire, and we're going to have to see what happens at the end of it.
Yep, absolutely. Hi, Chris.
Hi. Sorry about that.
That's all right. The chandelier answered so many questions for us.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, it's got a mind of its own.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet Chris Rhodes. Chris, we introduced you in your absence, but we did not introduce, I don't know if you have a glass in front of you. Chris has apparently been handling some fire going on down there at the brewery.
Yeah, I had a meltdown, so I just grabbed two.
So, Chris, I wonder if you could introduce people to Beer Tree.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Chris Rhodes, one of the founders of Beer Tree Brew Co. We're located down in Port Crane, New York. We're a farm brewery. We focus a lot on hop forward beers, a lot of IPAs. We do adjunct stouts. We do a lot of sours. Been around since 2017. And yeah, it's kind of just a real brief overview.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you could join us. I know you've got something going on in the brewery, but we're glad you could step in. So let's go back to some of our questions here. We have Steve Montanino, who has asked, as a brewer, what is your opinion of the app Untapped? Oh, I see giggles. Oh.
It's like the Yelp. It's the Yelp of the beer industry. Some people are so mean.
I hate IPAs. 0 stars. Well, of course, right? If you're drinking whoop-ass double IPA, it's everything you're not going to like. Don't rate it. It's a fun thing. People love it, and glad that they use it. And it's another way to market us, but it really sucks some days.
We've never gotten a bad review. I don't know.
Yeah, right? Never had a bad review.
I hate sours. It's like, well, then why are you drinking sour beer? And then don't rate it.
Right. I don't like jalapenos. And well, then don't drink our jalapeno saison. So.
Oh, but it's great. It's useful for other things.
Here's a good question. Breweries are experimenting more and more with some highly non-traditional ingredients. Are these beers as much in demand as the more traditional ales, lagers, wheat beers? And also some of these ingredients seem way off from traditional beers. Thoughts on the avant-garde flavors?
I saw someone who posted, as a home brewer, I do not follow styles. I brew what I like. I mean, that's kind of the industry anymore. You play around and you figure out what stands out and what works best. New England style IPAs didn't exist 5 years ago, and now they dominate the market. So traditional brewing just isn't necessarily going to keep your doors open. But sometimes we do go a little too far and try some things that are a little too crazy. But that's the important part of brewing. It's innovation. So
agree with that, definitely. Yeah, we tend to put a lot of random stuff in our beers. That's kind of the fun of it. I mean, it's all about experimenting, coming out with next new style, next new whatever, following trends, making your own trends. Like New England style IPAs, we made that into a fruited New England sour IPA. And that's, I don't know, it's just it's so much more fun to mess around and do what you want rather than just stick to the status quo. So at Beer Channel, we try to push it a little bit, sometimes too far. Sometimes it doesn't quite work out, but you got to try.
So it makes it fun.
Absolutely.
You never know what people are going to like. I feel like people sometimes have a mind of their own and they find whatever's trendy. Sometimes it can just be a label. Sometimes it can just be a fruit of the season. But it is fun trying new stuff and experimenting with new stuff.
What's the craziest thing you guys put in?
It sucks.
Yeah.
What was that?
Nothing.
I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't think we're anything too crazy. There's a couple weird fruits on the market right now, like soursop, all these narangilla, all these things from South America. I think Jeff thinks I'm a drug lord because I put all these crazy from South America down there. But
He keeps getting packages from Colombia, guys. I mean, I'm not supposed to question
Come
this.
on, seriously.
planes land on our
I've been watching Narcos.
Okay,
I know what's happening.
Yeah, we do. We've made a sponge candy beer. We make a Loganberry beer for the Buffalo markets, which have been interesting to kind of brew with and figure those out. But there's really nothing we won't put into a beer to try. I mean, sometimes things sound great on paper, and then you taste it, and it's like, that's not what you want it to be. And then other times you have these ideas that these flavors are going to be horrible together, and they become home runs. So you just never know.
Yeah. So we do a lot of stuff with Oz from Stoneyard, also went to RT. And he does some crazy stuff like puts hot dog water in his beer, and
Nice.
it's freaking crazy. Or the time that we did 500 pounds of it wasn't 500 pounds, but it was a massive amount of pineapple juice, and we had to open all of them, and he didn't show up that day.
I'm gonna just give a little shout out because I know that we have Lorraine Hems on the line. She's listening in, and I think a couple of you may know her. Lorraine teaches the World of Wine and I think some of the World of Beer classes as well, and some of her marketing students have joined as well. So we're glad to have them here. Let's see. We've got all kinds of questions popping up here. All right, let's go back to a business question. So are any of you looking at the SBA program to bring employees back in? You know, the CARES program that just launched out of the federal government. Is that something that's an opportunity for you?
Yeah, I could talk to that a little bit. It's a bit of a cluster. A mess right now, I guess, we're all trying to figure it out as the government tries to figure it out. We did apply for it last week, and we're hoping to see that approval come in the next couple of days, but we certainly don't know when exactly we're going to get the money. We don't know exactly how long this entire thing is going to last, and we'd want to bring everybody back, but we don't want to bring everybody back just to lay them back off again in a couple of months, in a month or two, or in several weeks. So we're trying to kind of skirt that and figure it out the best we can as things evolve, but we're really just waiting for answers, and we're kind of in a limbo land. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I feel very much like we're just kind of waiting to hear how things are going. Unemployment's very similar, and they said they're going to give $600 to everybody every week, but are they actually going to do that? And if they do that, can we get people to actually come back to work until that's done? And there's a lot of question marks that we're trying to navigate through. So it's certainly. I think we're all, want to relay to our employees and to our customers as fast as we can the information we're getting, but we don't want to push out false information just to get out some information because we really don't know the answers yet. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree.
Look at day by day kind of thing. I mean, there is so many unknowns. So I don't know. We just applied for the PPP program. We haven't heard back from them, but I mean, I don't know. I guess hopefully it works out. But yeah, trying to keep people just doing tasks, doing whatever they can to help. Kind of how we're doing things.
Yep.
Lots of unknowns. It's crazy.
If it's any consolation, I don't think you guys are in any different shape than a lot of others. So yeah, everybody else is just trying to figure out what that all meant when it went live. So I got a question from Dave Pugliese. IPAs and sours are obviously very popular right now. What are the latest trends in stouts here in Atlanta? I've noticed the use of cocoa nibs as an ingredient in stouts more and more. Chocolate and beer.
Pastry stouts.
They are, yeah. Pastry stouts are huge right now.
Did tell you about that?
Yeah, anything.
Drew, you got one, right?
Everyone likes really sweet beers. So any stout that I feel like leaves sugar on your teeth at the end of it is what people enjoy. But we did a series with some beer geeks out of the Buffalo area where they came in and we allowed them to choose the style of beer, and basically we did some testing, we did some test batches, let them tweak it, review, and they wanted to do an imperial stout. We broke it into two. One was a s'more stout and the other was a coconut stout, and really I don't think we could have added enough sugar into it for them, but it was a big hit. People liked it, and so it was a good experience for us to talk with some beer geeks and basically learn what they're looking for, and I think they got a good experience learning a little bit about our process of developing a beer and bringing it to market.
Steve, didn't Dean win a medal for the one they did with Hedonist?
Yeah, that was a dark chocolate Scotch ale, if I remember correctly, that he won for.
Yeah,
I don't think it was the stout, but he's had a couple.
He's had a couple
of stouts. We scaled one of them up, the coffee stout. We scaled up to the big brewery. It was stellar. I mean, coffee and stout kind of goes together. That's nothing new, nothing like pastry stouts, but it's kind of a big deal for us. We're a little more traditional.
So I got Dina on the line who says she's currently drinking a milkshake IPA with pineapple, vanilla, and coconut. That sounds like dessert. Okay. And then Steve says that the Germans would absolutely not agree with any of this.
Good thing we're not in Germany, right?
Yeah,
Man, we have the best beer market in the world.
They're not gonna like the purists over there, I bet.
Yeah.
And then Dean wants to, or Tobias wants to know, how about carrots? Anybody put veggies in their beer?
We've made a cucumber saison before that came out really well. We used a hop, Sriracha Ace, that gives like a dill flavor, and we used that with a lot of hand-cut cucumbers, and it came out really nice. Other than that, I mean, Drew, you can talk to that probably.
No, I know. I'm to do a sweet potato beer this next year, but I think that's the process that we've been for vegetable. More fruit, sweet.
We've done a couple. We've done butternut squash, pumpkin, and cucumbers. It's kind of
Yeah.
Pumpkin, that sounds good.
Vegetables.
Let's see, Steve Kaplan, I got a question from John who wants to know how many grapefruits go into a ruby red?
7.
That's per pint, right?
That's the best answer tonight.
No, we it's actually it's actually 2 grapefruit extracts that we worked with a couple flavor houses with. So we brew, our Kolsch recipe actually goes back really long time, and we can never really get our brand team to kind of just let us release our Kolsch. That's what we want to release. We're brewers, that's what we love, but we worked with a couple flavor houses to get a pink grapefruit and a ruby red grapefruit extract that goes into it. I don't know how many. I always tell people 7 though, because it sounds like a good number.
So we started to talk a little bit about how people work together, how your communities all support you. I have a question here. First question is asking whether any of you are using the testing facilities at Hartwick College Center for Craft Food and Beverage. And then along with that, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about your supply chains coming in, because I understand that one of the upsides, one of the many upsides of the craft brewing rise has been that sort of regional farming has picked up because you're collecting so much more from the hops growers jumping back in and all the grain growers jumping back in. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how you're sourcing your ingredients. Is it local? Is it regional? Talk about that a little bit.
I'll jump in a little bit on the community really quick. I miss my friends. I mean, we're all family here. We're a very tight-knit community. Genesee actually does a lot of lab testing for us, and we really appreciate it. One of our brewers actually went over to the lab for a little while, is now a brewer at Genesee too. And it's a really tight-knit community. These are more than just friends. They're family to me, and we work together a lot. I mean, even Jeff and Drew have helped me out a lot over the years. And so, it's hard for us right now to not see each other and be a part of that. We are not a farm brewery, so we do not focus necessarily on locally sourced ingredients as much, but it is blown up our industry at this rate with 460 plus breweries in New York State. More than half of them are farm brewers who are following certain restrictions where they need to do at least 60% of the hops and 60% of the malt that they use right now in craft beer. And we went from no malt houses in New York State to, I think there's like 3 now. And we brought back a hop industry that went away after Prohibition, and it's really exciting. But that's all I can say on that with sourcing locally.
Yeah, just to step in on the community, we have a Brewers page. Coming from a completely different industry into the brewing industry, it's very different than corporate world. There's not I don't think there's an industry where you invite your competitors in to do collaborations with you and share ingredients and, talk shop and, really just have a beer and enjoy each other's company. And, I think that's an awesome part about this industry. We have a Brewers page that at the end of this, we're supposed to have a big camp out at one of the breweries out in, just south of Batavia. And so it's something that's a lot of fun. It's always fun to, everyone's very busy in this industry, but it's great to meet people and, get together with other brewers. From a sourcing standpoint, we're also not a farm brewery. So we do try to do some local stuff and bring in some local hops, especially for some of our experimental beers. But with our production facility, really we're, trying to keep our costs down and push as much beer out as we can. With our new facility, we do have a lot of production space, which does carry some larger rent. So it's important for us to know our costs going into things.
Engineering stuff.
So to touch on that as well, for the community, we're not as closely involved with the Rochester community and Buffalo communities, but the collaborations just all without New York State or all throughout New York State. It's pretty awesome. It's such a cool industry because I don't know, the way I describe how I fell in love with the craft beer industry is coming from corporate America and really not appreciating how people are if you're my competitor, you can go shove something somewhere. So yeah, it was up in Rochester. It was at the Flower City Brewers Fest. That's where I walked around. We have a hop farm, so I walked around trying to sell hops with my parents, and everyone's so receptive and nice and friendly. And I don't know, you just see everyone just having a ball together. So that's kind of how we got really involved in wanting to be more involved in the craft beer industry. So for sourcing, we do have a hop farm about 20 minutes away from our brewery, but we we have a farm brewery license, but then we added on the micro license just because honestly, from a New York State perspective, it doesn't really make sense to limit yourself to just what you can produce in New York State. So we do just a variety of all New York State beers, a mixture of New York State and out of state, and then we can kind of experiment with the hops you can source from all over the world. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in our opinion. But we do use grain from a local malt house up in somewhere in Syracuse, and as many hops from New York State as possible. But you are limited to certain styles when you choose strictly New York State hops, and certain flavor profiles too. So we like to experiment with whatever we can get our hands on. Where we're at.
Yeah, Chris, next time you're in town, we should have a beer.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, have you guys watched the whole what is it, Tiger King?
I haven't yet.
Heard about that?
I've heard about it.
I watched it.
We should do a Tiger King beer for RIT.
I had the same conversation with my wife the other day.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Get a bunch of breweries owned by RIT alum and do a beer for them. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
it'd be super fun. Twist our arm. We'll come to Rochester.
Same.
Hey, listen, we're gonna be open. You guys got to come and hang out with us. So
I can't wait to check it out.
We can say goodbye to the old inner loop.
You guys are moving from the inner loop?
So we're right in front of the inner loop. We're staying here, but like it's gone now. I mean, there's apartments, a new apartment opening up. The museum just putting in a parking garage. It's unreal. Like the next couple of months, it's gonna look completely different when we reopen. It's kind of scary, kind of fun. This wall's going down on Wednesday apparently now. So. And I've got to clean up so much stuff up front. That's gonna suck.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I'll tell you, we've got John Rodaba and Ron Goldberg on this webinar. So I think we're talking about a Tiger Beer Fest coming up. So you guys get working on that, and we'll see if we can bring everybody in. I've got a question from Jeremiah that says, and I'm not going to pronounce it right, is the Cicerone certificate important in hosting tastings or any other aspect of the industry? Did I say that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cicerone is the sommelier kind of equivalent in beer, from wine. And there's different levels of it. Your basic levels are going to be very high level, how do you serve a beer, temperatures, pouring, things like that. And then it can get pretty in depth. I mean, some of actually the people that lead some of our taste panel stuff and how we actually evaluate beers have been Cicerone certified on a couple different levels. And I don't know, what do you guys think? I think it's pretty legit. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's I've always wondered if we did it, how we would do if we just went and took the test right now. We haven't. But.
You know where we probably struggle is with the draft system side, because that's the other key part of it is you have to have the draft system side of Cicerone as you get going up in it. I mean, it's great. It definitely helps, but not everyone's going to do as well with that. There's other tools out there for understanding beer, but Cicerone's great. When you have it and you know it, it's great.
Yeah, we had a couple guys that just were looking into it, and we did some test stuff with it just to see if it's something we want to implement it company-wide. And we have all of our servers are level 1 Cicerone trained and bartenders and everything. But the problem we found was if you want to go any further is you need to actually know a bit about cheese and for the pairings. And we know a lot about beer, but it turns out we're very basic on our cheese knowledge.
Velveeta.
Yeah, right. And it's like, well, yeah, Velveeta wasn't on there. Yeah. We all looked at each other like, we don't know what that cheese is. I guess we're not very sophisticated. I mean, we're beer cretins, to be honest. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give a little, I'm sorry. Did you have something? All right. I'm going to give a little, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say I got nothing. We don't. I think the Cicerone program's legit. We just haven't really gotten too involved with it. So
okay, I'm gonna give a little shout out to Dina, who shared. So we have a wonderful panel of 5 guys. And she says, have any of you heard of the pinkbootssociety.org, which is a group of female brewers around the country? And are any of you running into some of these women?
One of our brewers, Ashley, is amazing. She's phenomenal and does a great job. She did a couple of beers a couple years ago with the Pink Boots Society for women in brewing. It's a big focus on the New York State Brewers Association side too, of inclusivity. But women in craft beer, especially in Rochester, the women I know that are brewers here are amazing, and they kick ass all day, every day. So,
For sure, we struggle hiring women at all levels of our. We just don't get the applications. I mean, we try to find. We almost have to go seek out women in the industry and minorities, to be quite honest as well. It's a lot of white dudes around here, to be quite honest, and that's a problem in our industry. But it's I don't think it's lack for anybody trying to hire. It's just a lack of candidates that are available.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Same thing down here. We haven't really interviewed anyone, any females that want to work in the brewery. We would love to, but no one in this area is really into it. They're starting up at the local community college. They're starting up a brewing program, and it's just underway. I think it's year 1 or 2. So hopefully that brings in some new people interested in brewing.
Yeah, send a resume.
Heck yeah.
All right, around the room, what's the best beer to pair with a garbage plate?
Jenny,
Last one.
Jenny. Definitely Jenny.
Everyone's voting for Jenny?
I'll take it. Thank you.
Question, has anyone worked with Mortalis in Avon, New York at all? They seem to be coming up with crazy combinations, and do you have any opinions on what they are doing if you're familiar with it?
We've done some stuff with them. We haven't done a beer yet, but we worked with them when we do our celebration and cream ale. Shout out to Jenny. We do a festival here at the brewery where we invite local breweries to make a cream ale. We buy a 6th of it, and then we run through it. First year we did 11 breweries. We kicked it all from noon to 7 o'clock. Last year we did 21 breweries. Same noon to 7 o'clock, we're out of them. This year we're going to do 35, but we're going to have to wait, and we're spreading out as far as the Buffalo into Syracuse area a little bit. We're trying to really build on that theme. But yeah, we worked with Mortalis. They're cool guys. We see them all the time. They're doing something unique and really setting themselves out and apart from the rest of the industry. And that goes back to a lot of what we said earlier. If you're going to open, you have to open up and find your space and really claim it. And I think they've done a good job of claiming their space.
Yeah, we've done 2 beers with them. It was the same beer. We did it 2 years in a row. Yeah, they definitely found their niche. Doing the heavily adjunct, high quality beers. I think they really nailed it down. They put a lot of focus on just like their quality control. I think they perfected it at a homebrew level and then kept perfecting it for like 10 years. I think they were saying. So they've really nailed it down. We did it was a Neapolitan stout. So it was ice cream stout, strawberries. It was a lot of vanilla beans, and then cocoa nibs. And it's just like the from what we would do for a recipe to like the quantities that we did with them, it's just like there's so much more that goes into it. It's crazy. So much, a lot of sugar, a lot of like sugar, definitely sweeter. But hey, America loves sugar, right? So might as well go for it.
I feel like this is a whole nother webinar kind of chat.
Yeah.
What was your finishing gravity for that beer? 30?
Higher.
Yeah, the diabetes ale.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm getting a lot of positive talk about a quarter-mile brew fest here. So I think you guys want to keep that in mind, because I think the phones are going to light up after we finish here. Question about, so notwithstanding the person who says that they found 6 packs of Jenny in a store in Costa Rica, How far south are the rest of you distributing, or how far south can people go and still be able to get your beer?
Ithaca for me.
We just started, we've always been just Buffalo based. Now that we have the new facility, we can stretch our legs a little bit bigger or wider from a distribution standpoint. So we opened up Rochester. Rochester has been a pretty good market for us, to be honest, but we were only about half a year into it when this all started. So this was kind of going to be our coming out year to try to see what we could do in the market, which obviously has been put on hold. We just opened up Albany, and Syracuse will be right behind it. But we don't really have any aspirations of being a really big footprint. You know, that might be it for us. Just upstate, kind of New York. Maybe we dabble in New York City or a Cleveland or a Pittsburgh, but it'd be very limited. We want to kind of stick close to home, and it kind of goes to what Chris was talking about earlier. There's a lot of competition out there. There's 25 other breweries that are local breweries that are making really good stuff in all those other markets. You know, so why pick up Resurgence versus whatever's in your hometown? I think that breweries are eventually going to get to the point where it's limited distribution, and you're drinking regionally, which I think is a fun thing and a good thing for beer. So I will just be, you know, when you come to this neck of the woods, you got to get our beer because it's really good, and you go somewhere else, you drink somebody else's beer.
Yeah, we don't really go far. I mean, we're all in New York. We do self-distribution, so it's all pretty much limited drops anyways. The furthest south we would go is Hudson Valley. We don't mess with the city. That's a territory we don't want to. It's just really hard to get there with a commercial vehicle, and only a day's time to try and do a drop off. So yeah, we go Hudson Valley. We go up to Saratoga. We make our way to Rochester a little bit, not too much, a little bit in Buffalo, but it's all real kind of small, limited quantity stuff. Yeah.
So I'll let you know that Dina says she is flying up for Quarter Mile Brewfest. I think she's getting her tickets right now. I want to go around the room and give you all just one more chance to tell people what's going on with your breweries. Anything new, anything that you've launched. Last chance to go around the room and see what's going on.
Silence.
I'll start. You know, all I can say is that we're going to do the best we can to open up with our new experience, and we want everyone to stay safe and healthy, and just we hope everyone comes through this better, and we'll be here to serve you some beer. If not, find us at Wegmans for a while right now, and once we get back to normal, we look forward to seeing you here.
Yeah, I would say from my standpoint, you know, support your local breweries wherever you happen to be. You know, this is a hard time on everybody, and those extra 6-packs or case sales that you're pushing out the door are going to help those guys get through the next couple of days. So continue to do that, and it's certainly appreciated, and I know they'll appreciate it too.
Couldn't agree more. Support local. It's really important right now. Everyone's hurting, but try and make the best of it. Learn how to market your products in a different way. That's why I was gone for the first half hour, because we have not quite figured out the details of doing online orders, but we're in there.
Do you guys use Square?
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. Give me a call. I figured it out yesterday, so if you need any help, let me know.
I have an idea. We've worked out. We made an app for this kind of stuff that I can talk to you guys offline about.
Oh, sweet. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's how the craft brew group works together, which is just terrific. So we've had a lot of people making comments, and we'll share those with you. If anyone else does have other questions, you can go ahead and email them to ritalum@rit.edu, and we will direct your questions to our panel of brewers. And you will all receive an email from us in about a week with a link to the webinar recording. We want to thank our panel, by all means, for taking the time to chat with everyone today, and let you know that next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, you can join us for a conversation with RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson, who will be providing a wrap-up of the season. He'll be joined by our two WITR commentators, to discuss highlights and also to celebrate our graduating Tiger hockey seniors. So with that, thank you all for joining us, and you can go ahead and exit the webinar just by closing the live storm window and let us know what you thought of the webinar through a brief survey that you will all receive in an email. Have a wonderful weekend, and everyone please stay healthy.
Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.